Hi everyone, and welcome to this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School from Monterey, California, and the campus of NPS. In fact, at Centennial Park, one of our popular spots. I'm your host, Alan Richmond. Welcome to the show. On this edition of Inside NPS, we'll talk about technology and the DoD as we visit with the Chief Security Officer for Oracle, Marianne Davidson. We'll also take a look at how we're building integrity with NATO. But first, a very important organization located very close to the NPS campus is Fleet Numerical. Recently, we had the opportunity to spend an entire day to find out more about exactly what they do. Fleet Numerical Meteorology and Oceanography Center is the Navy's global hub for ocean and weather forecasting. The center's personnel, backed by a high-speed supercomputer, provides tailored products and data in support of the Department of Defense operations worldwide. FNMOC delivers weather and ocean prediction products, tactically enhanced weather and satellite imagery, and related tactical decision aids and data. Fleet Numerical is an Echelon 4 command under the Commander, Naval Meteorology and Oceanography. Along with its sister activities, the Naval Oceanographic Office, the Naval Observatory, and the Naval Oceanography Operations Command, Fleet Numerical provides 24/7 operational support geared toward keeping the fleet safe, enabling decision superiority, and improving warfighting effectiveness. Here's Commanding Officer Captain Jim Pettigrew. Captain, tell us a little bit about the mission of Fleet Numerical. What do you do and how do you do it?
Fleet Numerical's mission is to provide a forecast of the global atmosphere. And the way we do that is by taking in over 6 million observations a day from around the world that come in here to Fleet Numerical. And we bring them into our models and run those through our models that are resident on our supercomputers here. We have supercomputing clusters that operate in all classification levels, unclassified, secret, and top secret. And it's based on what level of operation where those models will be run and at what resolution those models will be run.
Now, what's the makeup of the people that work at Fleet Numerical? Are they all military, or are there some DoD civilians?
We have a mix of folks here at Fleet Numerical. We have about 50 military folks, officer and enlisted. We have one U.S. Air Force officer who's an exchange officer here working with us to partner with the Air Force Weather Agency. And we have about 150 civilians, both full-time employees as well as contractors, here helping us execute the mission.
Now, you obviously work 24/7 because this is a pretty important job that you have at Fleet Numerical.
That's absolutely correct. The watch center that we're standing in here is manned 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. My command duty officer and forecast duty officer and my computer system watch officer is here continuously monitoring the supercomputer jobs, the forecast runs, interacting with the operational fleet, and understanding what the requirements are out there for environmental support that we can provide from here.
How do you support all the ships at sea?
The most important thing that we do is provide an analysis of the global atmosphere and the surface of the ocean, the wind at the surface of the ocean, as well as the waves on the ocean and the sea state. And obviously those types of parameters impact how ships can operate and how submarines can operate when they're near the surface. And so it's very important for us to understand where the fleet is operating, and where the fleet will operate. And we're in constant communications with them over various networks and information exchange systems to be able to understand those operations that are ongoing. And we tailor our models to be able to support those operations and ensure that the decision makers can get the naval assets and naval units on station safely, on time, to execute the mission at hand.
Well, that's a critical component, and it's all done right here from Monterey, California.
That's absolutely correct. And there are a handful of global forecast centers around the world. We're the only forecast center in the world that executes this mission to DoD information assurance standards. And that's a very important piece of the puzzle, and a game-changing piece of the puzzle when you look at today's cyber environment now and into the future.
Now, you're the commanding officer currently. Tell us a little bit about your roles and responsibility for Fleet Numerical.
Certainly, as commanding officer, I have my military requirements to ensure the mission is executed I have the ultimate responsibility for my command's well-being, my command members' well-being, and that the mission is executed. The most important thing that I can do is articulate the requirements that Fleet Numerical has to ensure our mission is executed to my headquarters so that we're programmed and budgeted for now and through the out years appropriately to take advantage of technology that's coming down the pike for supercomputing capabilities as new models are developed and rolled in from our partners at Naval Research Lab.
Great. I noticed when we walked in, we have multiple screens on the wall and we have multiple rows of computers and people doing different jobs. Can you walk us through what each of them do and how do they differ?
You bet, absolutely. Certainly, starting off with the rows here in the Ops Center, on the back row is where my forecast duty officer is. And my forecaster is primarily responsible for writing the forecasts that go out to our submarines operating around the world. We have the appropriate knowledge to understand where submarines are and where submarines are located, both our U.S. as well as our allied partners, and support those missions on a 7x24 basis. And that's primarily what the back row, my forecasters, are doing. On the middle row, my professional civilians, my computer system watch officers, are continually monitoring our supercomputing clusters. And again, we have supercomputing clusters that operate in 3 classification enclaves. And their job is to ensure that 4 times a day, those forecast processes are running on those supercomputers, and they monitor the progress of those jobs. Here on the front row is where my command duty officer and my apprentice forecaster sit. My command duty officer obviously is my representative 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, and is my interaction with the rest of the oceanography community and the fleet at large. And you know, today Lieutenant Cohn is my first point of contact in taking in requests from around the fleet for specific modeling support or specific product support that we would provide out of here. And our apprentice forecaster is also that first point of contact, and she's taking up in chat windows with the different fleet units around the world, taking in specific types of support requests and in answering those support requests.
That's great. How far out can we actually forecast these days with all the new technology?
Right now, we sort of look at about a 5-day window. 5 days where our skill is sort of, we sort of refer to as our knee in the curve. Our goal is to get out to out into the 6-7 day region, and we're running some new types of model systems with our partners in NOAA that are going to extend those out to the 10 to 14 day regime here within the next year or so.
Well, that's great. Well, you've had a distinguished career, and congratulations on your move back to Washington. What do you like best about your job here?
I like the people here. The people here, both the civilians and the military, really believe in the mission here. I have some incredibly professional and experienced civilians that have long-term skill sets in numerical weather prediction, as well as in the information technology side of the house with the supercomputing capability here. I have folks here that could be very easily employed up in Silicon Valley for at least twice what they're doing, but they believe in the mission here, and they believe that serving their country in this capacity is the right thing for them to do. And I'm very proud to be the commanding officer here.
Well, great. Well, congratulations on assembling such a great team and for inviting us over to take a look around today and find out more about Fleet Numerical.
You bet. Thank you very much.
Thank
for your
you.
time.
Thanks, Captain. We'll have more from Fleet Numerical and the Naval Postgraduate School in just a moment. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside NPS. Well, in part 2, we'll pay a visit back to Fleet Numerical to find out more about their history and take a look at supercomputers. Mike, thanks for taking time to talk to us a little bit. Tell us about the history of your organization here called FNMOC. We know that's an acronym, but how did it get started? When?
Well, you know, the history of Fleet Numerical is actually intertwined with that of NPS. The forerunner of Fleet Numerical, which was called the Navy Numerical Weather Problems Group, moved to Monterey in 1959 to co-locate with the Naval Postgraduate School because of the intellectual capital in the meteorology department over there, and also to share the world's first transistorized computer, the CDC Cyber 1604 computer, which in fact was designed by Seymour Cray, the father of modern supercomputing. And then in 1961, Fleet Numerical took on the name Fleet Numerical Weather Facility and commenced operations actually over at NPS. on the ground floor of Spanigal Hall. Finally, in '74, the organization moved over here to this compound and has undergone a few name changes ever since. But essentially, we've always been called Fleet Numerical something or other. And to commemorate that 1961 stand-up of Fleet Numerical Weather Facility, we are getting ready to celebrate our 50th anniversary here in May of 2011.
Talk a little bit about the technology changes and advancements since the early 1960s with Seymour Craig and with those operations, how it started. We've come a long way, haven't we?
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You know, the amount of computer power that existed in that first computer is probably much less than what you have on your cell phone right now. And we were running very coarse resolution, very primitive models. Started out initially running a model only for the Northern Hemisphere and only at a couple of levels. And the very coarse horizontal resolution provided a very coarse representation of the large-scale atmospheric flow. Now we're running models on very powerful supercomputers that take the resolution down to just a handful of kilometers, and we're able to depict very detailed aspects of the weather, including things like squall lines and land breezes and sea breezes. And of course, we endeavor to take the information down to very fine scales to better support the warfighter and better support fleet safety. Those are the two main things we do. We support fleet safety with weather information, weather and sea information we produce, and we enhance warfighting effectiveness with tailored products for the warfighter.
And we have quite a bank of supercomputers that we're going to get a chance to look at. Tell us a little bit about that capacity.
Yes, we do. You know, supercomputers are really the heart of any numerical weather prediction center. And we actually have on the floor about 45 teraflops of computing power. Teraflop stands for trillion floating point operations per second. So that's 45 trillion additions, subtractions, multiplications. Pretty big number, pretty powerful capability. It's really what you need to have to do this business numerical weather prediction, which requires a lot of computing power. We fall kind of in the middle range of the top 500 computer sites in the world at 45 teraflops. You know, the top range there are massive investments in things that are supporting missions such as nuclear stockpile management and climate analysis and so forth. But we're kind of in the middle range, about the top 50% in the top 500 list. We've been pioneers in the application of Linux cluster technology to numerical weather prediction. We're the first numerical weather prediction center in the world, of which there are about a dozen or so, to go down that technology path. It's been very successful for us. And we see now some of the other centers are starting to follow our lead on that. Basically get a lot of bang for our buck by going down the Linux cluster technology path.
And if someone were to ask you what's the most important thing that happens here, how would you answer that?
Well, it's the customer support. You know, we have a long history of working very closely with our customers, and that's the kind of people that are in this room here, talking to people out in the field every day. The fact that we have a combination of military and civilians here, with the military always coming in and turning over, makes it for a very dynamic environment, keeps our workforce really in tune with what's going on out there, because our military watch standards, our military department heads, certainly our CO and XO, are coming to us having had the military tours out there, having been at sea, having been in the centers out there. They know what's important, they know what works, what doesn't work, what the needs of the warfighter are. So I think our engagement with the customers, our direct engagement with the customers, lots of two-way interaction, and our responsiveness in being able to bring science and technology to bear to meet customer demands is really what really separates us.
John, tell us a little bit about your role as the Deputy Operations Officer. What exactly do you do?
As the Deputy Operations Officer, I work very closely with the Military Operations Department Head, the officer there, and we are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the entire process that we do here at Fleet Numerical. That is, getting the more than 6 million observations into the facility, getting those then processed to be put into the models or to be even just put into databases for retrieval. Then the models have to be run, and that data then has to go back out to our customers via several different methods, web-based, bulk file transfers, a lot of different protocols on the different classification levels that we have.
Well, you do a great job, and it's a very important one, so thanks for sharing your expertise with us, and good luck in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Well, thanks again to the commanding officer of Fleet Numerical and his fine staff for the very critical and important work they do. Well, from Fleet Numerical, we turn to building integrity and NATO at a conference recently held here in Monterey. As the designated United States Partnership for Peace Training and Education Center, the Naval Postgraduate School works closely with other Partnership for Peace Training and Education centers and other related institutions on long-term capacity building programs and opportunities to coordinate on important initiatives. One such initiative, Building Integrity, aims to reduce the risk of corruption in the security sector by promoting accountability and transparency. In support of that initiative, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization coordinated with the U.S. PTC to host the 2011 NATO Building Integrity Conference in Monterey. To start out the conference, NPS Provost and Executive Vice President Leonard Ferrari noted the opportunities that NPS has had in serving the U.S. PTC and in supporting various NATO programs and initiatives. NPS regularly collaborates with institutions in partner countries to help with their path to NATO membership, and that support continues as members and partners come together to promote global peace and stability.
The U.S. Partnership for Peace Training Center was established about 5 or 6 years ago under the jurisdiction of NATO, but we were appointed by the Department of State to be the United States' only training center in the Partnership for Peace. Since that time, we have been reaching out to our partner institutions, there are now 20 in the world, to develop joint programs in education, in research. We ran a short course on cybersecurity at the NATO school. We ran a complex operations short course at the Geneva Center for Security Policy, our Swiss counterpart, jointly with that institution, where the student population was composed of NATO leadership, U.S. military leadership, and even the NGO-IO community from Geneva, Switzerland. And so we also plan on hosting at the Naval Postgraduate School a number of these conferences of vital importance to the NATO partnership.
Tell us a little bit about your role in the conference here in building integrity with NATO.
I'm very delighted to be here back in Monterey. We had a first conference on this 2 years ago, and this second follow-up I think is proving to be an outstanding success in many, many respects and looking at key issues. I'm the head of the Defense and Security Economics Group in the Political Affairs Division at NATO. I have previous experience with the Naval Postgraduate School and the US Naval Academy. This conference brings together actors from across the globe in looking at how we can strengthen accountability, improve our transparency, develop our integrity in the management of resources and institutions, particularly in the defense and security sector. But we're, of course, very focused on how we can coordinate our efforts in Afghanistan at a critical time for the international community and particularly for the NATO International Security Assistance Force in Afghanistan.
Now tell us a little bit, who are the individuals that actually have attended the conference here in Monterey this year?
We have representatives from Afghanistan, that's the first thing to say, who have been making very important contributions about understanding corruption in Afghanistan and what we might be able to do to better curb this. We have senior military representatives. General Abrial, who is the Supreme Allied Commander for Transformation, came and did a keynote speech. He was accompanied by Huguette Labelle, who is the chairman of Transparency International worldwide, and Sir Stuart Eldon, who was the British ambassador to NATO up until last March. They gave the setting of how are we going to coordinate our efforts better. The great thing about the conference has been that the World Bank is here. We have some of the most significant NGOs. We have parliamentarians. We have the Deputy Chief of the Swedish Committee on Foreign Relations from a parliamentary perspective. Industry is represented, senior level industry representative. The number of actors and the representatives from many countries. We have countries Russia, Moldova, Jordan, Ukraine, Georgia. It's really an impressive event, I would say.
And how would you say the conference has gone since day one? Have you accomplished what you set out to do?
I think that in a world of financial crisis, fiscal austerity that has been the experience of all of the NATO members, including the United States, recently and in the years ahead, we need to look very carefully as to how we can curb corruption, because curbing corruption will help our more efficient use of our limited resources for defense and security.
Now, we talk a lot about NPS and our cutting-edge research, but we really are involved in global outreach at the Naval Postgraduate School, aren't we?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, for 100 years we've been doing a great job in our warfighter readiness. We've always been involved in what we call the soft power side, but we maybe haven't got as much recognition outside of the Monterey Peninsula in that area. We have a lot of wonderful programs out there that are being done both by the School of International Graduate Studies and others where we send out mobile education teams, and we work at all levels of the government in these critical areas dealing with security and policy, and again helping in areas of defense institution building in countries who are either interested in joining NATO or have challenges within their countries on how to deal with some of the processes of establishing a strong and ethical defense establishment.
Well, building integrity, NATO, and the Naval Postgraduate School, a winning combination. Well, stay with us. After the break, we'll be talking about technology and the DoD with Mary Ann Davidson, the Chief Security Officer from Oracle, who recently visited our campus and spoke to our students. Well, recently we had the opportunity to visit with the Chief Security Officer from Oracle about new technology and the Department of Defense as she came to NPS to speak with our students. Here's Mary Ann Davidson. Mary Ann Davidson is the Chief Security Officer at Oracle. She's responsible for product security as well as security evaluations, assessments, and incident handling. She represents Oracle on the Board of Directors of the Information Technology Information Security Analysis Center, is a member of the Global Chief Security Officer Council, and serves on the Editorial Advisory Board of FC Magazine. She has served on the Defense Science Board and was recently named to the Center for Strategic and International Studies Commission on Cybersecurity. She has also served as a commissioned officer of the U.S. Navy Civil Engineer Corps, where she was awarded the Navy Achievement Medal. Well, Mary Ann, first of all, thank you for taking time to be with us here on the Pentagon Channel on Inside NPS. I'm wondering if you could start off by telling us what your duties are as the Chief Security Officer for Oracle.
I have a remit that is somewhat different from what most chief security officers look after. I do not have responsibility for physical security or operational security of our networks. My remit, as the Brits would say, is product security, and that specifically focuses on how we develop and deliver and engineer our products with security in mind. So we have entire program management around how do we make sure that when we build software, it's designed and delivered to be secure.
Well, congratulations on recently being named as one of the top 5 women of vision in SC Magazine. How did you get that distinction?
You know, I don't know. I was within a very distinguished company, and there are a number of, surprisingly number of women in the IT industry in security, more than you would think. So I feel honored to be in distinguished company.
Well, we're very pleased to have you here at NPS as a guest lecturer today, and I'm wondering what you plan to tell our student body. What's the tone of the message?
Well, the tone, I hope, will be appreciative of the audience, because I was a naval officer in a previous life, and I'm always thrilled to be asked to come here. And in a way, it's a bit Coles to Newcastle, but the message is, what can IT professionals and can the IT industry learn from military strategy? And by that I mean, I think of the network itself as the backbone for warfighting. And as such, the network itself becomes a battlefield, because if you can destroy somebody's ability to use the power of their information as a force multiplier, then that's a way to prevail. So the network itself has to be built and designed to be defensible. And when I say the network, I don't just mean the defense systems network, I mean all of critical infrastructure.
What will be the outcome and the takeaway following your address to the students today in your collaboration with NPS?
I hope it will be two-way. One of them is I love, an avocation is I love military history and military strategy, and I know that probably anybody in the audience knows more than I do. So I hope somebody will come up to me and say, I have this great book for you to read, or this great paper I want you to read, and that will actually help me to be more informed, and that actually informs how I think about network defense. I hope maybe what the students take away is that they use the warrior skills that they have and the warrior mindset, so that when they are in positions of authority to look at cyber systems, they bring that military mindset to how we defend networks.
Now, Oracle deals a lot with the Department of Defense, correct?
That's correct. We have a number of customers, and of course we have customers in many countries and many industries. We're a global industry. I confess that I do have a soft spot for the Defense Department and intelligence entities because, in a way, they are the gold standard of what I mean when I say all customers have secrets to protect, and they all do. Some of those are industrial secrets, some of those are national secrets.
Marianne, tell us a little bit, as technology changes so rapidly, what are some of the inherent problems?
I think one of the things that we learned from the financial market meltdown is that we do not understand systemic risk very well. And while some types of risk can be mitigated, systemic risks cannot be. You just have to not take the bet. And unfortunately, we now are in such a rush to use technology in some ways very productive ways, but sometimes we are doubling down on systemic risk in a way that is not mitigatable. And we're assuming risks that we cannot understand and cannot be mitigated. And that is frightening.
Well, we hear a lot about security risks and that technology. What are some of the biggest problems we face today, in your opinion?
I'm not sure we could pick one. As I said, I think it's systemic risk. Things like we deploy systems and use components in threat environments they were never designed for. And I understand why people do that, but there is an assumption in the background that somehow, somewhere else, someone is looking after security. And there isn't someone else, it's us. It's all of us.
Well, Marianne, thank you very much for making a visit here to NPS and for appearing on the Pentagon Channel. We hope to see you soon, and best of luck with Oracle.
It's a great pleasure to be here.
Well, that's it for this edition of Inside the Naval Postgraduate School. From Monterey, California, I'm your host, Alan Richmond. We'll see you again soon. Thanks for joining us.